Hello, everyone, and welcome to this fun conversation. So, my name is Genevieve Young, and I'm having some fun conversations with the hot seaters, people that have been in the Abraham Hicks hot seat. And so today I'm pursuing my conversations about emotions. So I have with me Colette Davenport. Hello, Colette.
Hello.
Thank you for being there. I'm so happy to have you. So, the two first questions that I like to ask my guests are: how many times have you been in the hot seat, and how have you discovered Abraham Hicks?
Okay. I've been in the hot seat one time, my very first Abraham Hicks workshop. And I discovered Abraham Hicks the summer before the November workshop that I attended. And I discovered these, short 15-minute YouTube clips just searching for, I forget what it was at the time. I honestly don't remember. I'm into personal growth and,
Yeah.
listening to positive, influential things of all kinds, from self-improvement books to just these little, speeches that sometimes people give and things of that nature. So the whatever I had searched, or maybe it just popped up randomly on my feed as a suggestion, I clicked on it, and then I was hooked, and I was listening to them like one after the other, after the other, after the other. And then eventually, a couple months into that, I was like, I wonder if she'll ever do a workshop by me. And so I looked it up, and wouldn't you know it, right, the same month as my birthday, there was one an hour down the road from me. And so, boom, there I was.
So much fun to see all the synchronicities. I love that. So, and I completely understand that once you start listening and it resonates for you,
Yeah.
you can't stop. It's like something, yeah, you need to, yeah, something that is so good to listen to.
Mhm.
So, tell me, like, we're going to listen to your hot seat in three different segments. But first, I would like you to tell us your story, just like it, we're not going to go too deep in the past, but I would like to, so people understand where you come from and what was happening at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I well, the reason I kept raising my hand at the workshop was because I wanted to sit in the hot seat and discuss my physical body. Specifically, I've got this brainstem tumor, which thank God it's benign. And it's been a part of my life for 13 plus years. And so early on, I totally went worst case scenario, like my life is over as I know it, that kind of dark, depressive, bad place in life. And then I sort of came out of that and was like determined to heal this myself, because my doctors had all said, and I got multiple, doctors to talk to me about that, and they all said the same thing, which was the surgery that they could do would cause my tongue to be paralyzed on
Mm.
the right side. And so I would have to learn to chew and to swallow and to speak and all of these things that are like my favorite things in the world. I am a speaker and a
Yes.
presenter for a living, and and so that wasn't an option that I wanted to pursue if I didn't have to. And since it
Mm.
was benign, they sort of said, well, we can wait and watch and see what happens. So that's when I came out of the darkness, and I was like really determined to do something. And I used this kind of this energy, because it was like, excuse my language, fuck this. I will fix it myself.
Yeah.
And so then I can't tell you how many alternative therapies I pursued, from dietary to shamanism to homeopathy, and on and on and on and on and on, with all these wonderful alternative therapies that didn't work for me,
Hmm.
because I now know in hindsight, because I was coming at them from a place of I hate that I have to do this. I
Mm.
was angry, I was afraid, and all of that energy is, well, low vibrational, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
It's
so
not well-being energy. Yeah.
no, no, it was more anger, which I now
Mm-hmm.
think that this is an eruption of the anger that I have held for my entire life.
Mm.
When again, so personal and self-healing and all of this, like that became my entire life. In fact, I had
Mm-hmm.
a business founded on my experience of healing myself. But so when I came to realize that there was not going to be any physical therapeutic attempt at healing myself until I dealt with the emotional and energetic or spiritual aspect of
Mm.
my circumstance or situation. So then that's when I delved into the energetic and spiritual and emotional realms. And
Mm.
so that then fast forward several years, because it certainly wasn't instant, for several years. And I didn't realize this way back when 13 years ago, but I absolutely know for a fact now that this this experience occurred for me so that I could heal myself at
Mm.
an energetic, emotional, spiritual level. And so that it was never about my body. Never about
Mm.
my body. And so whether my body stays this way or it changes in some way or some other way is irrelevant to me at this point, because the
Mm.
healing that has occurred for me as a result of this physical condition is unparalleled. The
Mm.
knowing of who I am, the ability to regulate my emotions despite circumstances, is feels like peace and power. Quite frankly, the power
Yeah.
over my own well-being.
Mm. Yeah. And over the image of who you are. Yeah, exactly. I love that. Okay, so let's listen to your the first part of your hot seat, and then I'll have questions for you.
Okay.
Hi, Abraham. I'd like to talk today about my physical body.
Yeah.
And
Sorry. Okay,
hi,
let's try
Abraham. I'd like to
again.
talk today about my physical body.
Yeah.
And my heart's beating really quickly.
Wow. I don't know why the first section doesn't want to start.
What I understand is that
It's really good to start with what you understand. That's really good. Understand is a good word, isn't it? What's under where I'm standing, basis, really good. Yeah.
Yes. What I understand is that I've healed myself.
Yeah.
And my physical body is catching up.
Good.
With that reality.
Good words and accurate.
Thank you. And my question is, what am I unaware of in my, what am I resistant to? There's some resistance.
But this is the same thing that we've been talking about. Isn't this a good theme to have today? It's letting go of that human tendency of finding out what's wrong so I can stop doing it. But when you're looking for the thing that you think is wrong, you're still doing it.
Got it.
So you're holding yourself in that place. And what does that mean? What does it indicate? It indicates that I don't really trust the vortex, and I don't really trust my inner being, and most of all, I don't trust myself to line up with that. But you can.
And I do.
So what you're saying, we're just going to put some other human words around it. I have this evidence that isn't what I want, and how do I make this evidence that I don't want go away?
Yeah.
And we say, first of all, it's got to stop being evidence, which means it's got to stop being something that you focus upon. And that's easier in some cases than others, isn't it? But it's always the same thing. What you give your attention to becomes more, and what you give your attention to less becomes less. It's the law.
Interesting, eh? So I liked the first part when Abraham says, understanding is, standing, under where I'm standing. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little bit what you were saying in the introduction, So it was all about you understanding also, like, from inside what was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ever since the sort of the clarification around that word understanding, I realize now I have been on a lifelong, like my mission, if I've got a soul mission, it's to understand, seeking truth and inclusive of myself and my body and my emotions and everything else. But for us as people and humanity as well. So that's been like my lifelong mission. So it's kind of not an
Yeah.
accident that was clarified for me while I was sitting in the seat.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So, and then Abraham says, looking for what's wrong just becomes more of, there's more of what's wrong in your life, in your reality. So, from that moment, did you choose to stop looking at that evidence and just change your focus on something else?
Completely.
Yeah.
So circling back just a moment, when I was like, I'm doing these alternative therapies
Yeah.
and I'm still going to fix this myself. Like all of that was me focused on the thing that was wrong that I wanted to be right or to be different. And so I recognized in the hot seat, I was doing that again. I was doing it in more of from a compassionate place and not something is wrong with me here, but let me fix this little lingering physical manifestation of a past emotional pain. So, but I was still focusing on, like, I was in these alternative therapies, but again, coming in it from let's see what happens if I show up for these alternative therapies now. Yeah. But I was still focused on the thing that I wanted to change. And so after the hot seat, I stopped all my therapies altogether.
Really? Right after? Yeah. Interesting. I like that. But also, I think it's, you know what? I love doing this work because it allows you to replay that hot seat and see where you're at now. But also, it's really like to honor your path, So for you at that moment, you had to go, like, yeah, maybe you were still looking at what you didn't like, but in a more compassionate way with your heart. So that was the way of connecting with your heart, and then something else came into your life. But you had, that was the path, which is perfect too.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's listen to the second part of the hot seat.
Then you want to scream at us and we don't blame you. Well, when something is right there, how can you not notice it? And we say, by noticing other things more. It's kind of the conversation we just had with our friend. And you've been trained to be so objective to weigh the pros and the cons. Humans have been trained by each other. You're not doing each other any favor to believe that you've got to take the whole of everything. Let's just consider it all, and then let's just decide the parts we're going to keep and the parts we're not going to keep. And we say, every time you point at a part that you're not going to keep, you keep it. So it's not taking the whole and deciding, I'll keep that and I won't keep that, and I'll keep that and I won't keep that, because that's saying, I'll keep it all, I'll keep it all, I'll keep it all. But when you say, I like that, ooh, I love that, I take pleasure from that, I feel secure in that, ooh, I love the well-being of that, I love the feeling of that, now you're choosing the parts you like. And in a little while, you can calibrate your vibration only to that. It's like your radio signals in your vehicles or in your equipment. They're calibrated to frequencies so that they take what they're calibrated to, and everything else isn't there. And that's a good thing, or you'd be listening to all of XM radio at once. What would that be like? And you say, oh, wait, I'll tune that out, and I'll tune that out, and I'll tune. That's really going about it the hard way. The calibration is taking place at a vibrational level.
Understood.
Yeah, calibrate to what you like, to what you want, to what you love. So do you remember at that time, like after the hot seat, did you do that type of calibration?
Yes, and it was new, even though I'd been listening to the audios on YouTube for however many months. It was like brand new information for me in the hot seat. And I'll say something that might be even more powerful of like telling you what happened after the hot seat is it's happening right now.
Yeah.
Literally, like when you and I spoke a moment ago, I was like, I'm in a growth phase. And so the calibrating to what is wanted instead of like trying to fix what's not working right now is life-saving for me. And so instead of feeling powerless and out of control and then coping in unhealthy ways, which I have done before, I am now every opportunity I'm listening to more Abraham Hicks. I am, reading the books. I am meditating. I am calibrating to all that is really good in my life right now. And it's a completely unrelated, arena or topic, but having this conversation with you today could not be more synchronistic and amazing and aligned as a reminder for that conversation. It's like I'm back in the hot seat, girl.
Yeah. I love that. I've been in the hot seat a few times.
Okay.
And every time I listen to them, depending on what I'm going through, I always catch something else. It's like it's always speaking to me, like depending on where I am, and I catch something completely different. So I think Abraham is talking to like a lot of different levels of our inner being. And it's like if I don't know, it always helps me to go and listen back to the hot seats when I'm going through something difficult. Yeah. Okay, so let's listen to the third part of your very interesting hot seat.
Pick another segment where you're wanting to calibrate. You want to calibrate and you feel the necessity of calibrating. In other words, you're going to calibrate because you're going to do this, so you might as well line up before you walk into it, something like that.
So the way that I language it is my healing, and I understand there's contrast in that because what I know is that I've healed myself. And I'm doing work, I'm in treatments to help my body resolve the situation.
All right, so give us an example of a segment that's about to happen.
Yeah, so I walk into a place called Xenogenesis and get resonant frequency.
I'm going to walk into this place. But before you do, you're going to do some segment intending. So you've got your notebook, and so you're going to activate something that's easy and calibrate to it. I like being in my body, and I like my responsive body, and I like knowing that my new asking is accomplishing a different vibrational frequency than anything that I've ever done before. And I love the newness of my expanding being. I love the extending of me into my experience. And I love knowing that things are always working out for me. I love knowing that my inner being knows things that I can't even articulate, but I love that feeling of well-being, of knowing that my inner being knows. That's calibration. Do you feel it taking place? And then under those conditions, that's who you take into that environment. And then that environment is affected by what you know. And the parts about your calibration that help you stick, and the parts that could potentially be there that are not part of your calibration bounce off of you. So you are actually soliciting from the environment in which you are going the components that match the calibration that you accomplished. This is deliberate creation at its very best, you see.
Yes.
So what is true healing? Calibrating to source. Does the subject of healing have anything? Is it relevant? Subject of healing a relationship, not relevant. Subject of healing my body, not relevant. Subject of fixing the economy or whatever, not relevant. Calibrate to well-being and everything is taken care of. You see how it works?
Yes.
Does it make you feel lazy? A little, because you've sort of given yourself a lot of accolades and rewards for struggle and suffering. The biggest monuments are for those who have suffered the most. Teasing you.
Suffering and struggle, huh? That's so interesting. So first of all, I love listening to that calibration. It's so good I think it's good for everyone to listen to. It's It's like a rampage that brings you right there into the well-being frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me specifically, it was on a whole new level of being sort of in the appreciation of my cells, knowing what to do. That was
Mm,
like a whole new thing to consider and to feel and to trust
mm,
me. And so it just took it to a whole new, like a deep, like a quantum level almost, you know?
yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And then when they talk about suffering and struggling, so it's probably why it's so hard to focus on the evidence of well-being instead on the evidence of illness, you know? What
Mhm.
do you think about that? Like, I'd like to know about your path and how, because you say it, you said, I know there's contrast in that, you know, while you're explaining that you're healed, but also that you still have this evidence. So how was it for you? I guess you were like battling a little bit between your head and, you know, whatever you're thinking that you want to go towards well-being, but you see something else. So tell
Mhm.
us a little bit how you went through that.
Yeah. So, right or wrong, when I talk about I know I am healed, I'm referring to that aspect of me that is energetic or emotional, the I call it soul wound. I had set out to fix what was wrong with my body and ended up healing myself at a soul level. So
Mm,
there was a knowing, there still is a knowing that I have achieved a healing, a wholeness, a reintegration of those parts that my psyche sort of fragmented off. So I restored wholeness to myself at that deep level of knowing,
mm,
of knowing who I am, right? Who I am the big I am.
yeah.
And then there's the body, the physical sort of um, physical manifestation of past thoughts and beliefs and things that have occurred. And so the healing that is still occurring is having my body or my physical manifestation match the deep knowing, the trust, the faith, the soul level understanding that I have. And so
Mm,
for some reason, like I said, right or wrong, maybe I just believe that my body takes time to heal, but I can heal myself at a soul level in an instant. Um,
mm,
and so there's like the denser world of the physical plane is like that shit takes time. It's like you like doesn't Abraham talk about oftentimes like you plant the seed of the kernel of corn, and it's gonna take a little time to sprout some new corn ears, right? And so
yeah.
I think of my body is like that.
Mm-hmm.
The wholeness of the kernel of corn that was planted in the soil to begin with, and the perfection of that was always. And so
Mm,
that healing and that knowing for me has occurred. And now the like the stalk is growing, some ears are gonna grow, and my
yeah.
body will then reflect or represent this knowing that I have. Um, and maybe it will and maybe it won't. Maybe this is where the real healing. I stopped giving a damn what my body looked like as
Mm,
evidence of whether or not I'm well,
yeah. Yeah. That's
whole
good.
or healed, or like whether or not I know myself. I stopped sort of needing a physical
Evidence.
proof or evidence of
Yeah.
knowing what I know.
Yeah.
I have
Interesting.
full body chills talking about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That for me was like part of the healing, the
Exactly.
evidence of healing, that I no
Yeah.
longer need my body to look a certain way to know that I am healed and whole and
Mm,
complete and
mm,
perfect, and
mm.
all those other things that are occurring. Like that perfect kernel of corn has everything it has ever needed to be
Exactly. Exactly. That's good. Yeah. So tell me, Colette, right
Yeah.
now, with the contrast you're going through,
Mhm.
what are the tools that you're using? Are you doing some calibration like Abraham, taught you on the hot seat? what is it that you do in your, daily practice today?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll just be real vulnerable and tell it like it is. So the situation is I launched a program in my business that was an epic fail, and I had invested about 30 grand to make it go, and like didn't earn a single dollar. And so I find myself at the bottom of my bank account freaking the F out, not knowing what's next. And having like what I've done before in the 20-year career that I've had as an entrepreneur, I had sort of turned my attention away from that to focus on a new model, a new thing, leverage and scale and leveling up and all of that stuff that, is enticing. But I shut down the thing that is innate in me that I know is my power and my way of attracting clients and being paid and all of these other wonderful things that have come relatively gracefully, I'll say, not easily, but gracefully, my entire 2-decade long career. And so the struggle is real right now. I'm like, OMG, what am I going to do? I got a mortgage. I got all these things, right? And so to answer your question, what am I doing? Yes, I am writing out all that I am grateful for. I am reminding myself that I have built a 2-decade long career with my attention, my focus, my love, my positivity, my willingness to serve, all of these wonderful things. I've done great work in the world. So anyway, I write all that out.
Yeah, yeah.
I also, so that's one big one. I'm writing out the additional facts, the facts that make me feel good, rather than the facts of no money in the bank. Like I'm seeing those too. But rather than doing more of what I've done these last 5 months, which is hustle and grind and work harder and more discipline, nothing wrong with those. That is just not where my magic is generated from. I know it works for a lot of people. For me, it shuts down the flow of my energy. And I thought I was doing a good thing by doing something I've never done before to get a new result I've never had before in my business. And in hindsight now, and literally this just occurred for me, that the like bottoming out occurred last week. So it's literally right here, right now.
Yeah.
And so I've taken the last week to sit and reflect and realize that I cut myself off from the stream, to use Abraham's example. Like, instead of going with the flow, the downstream of all of, how life flows and momentum, and which is how I built my entire business and career. I stuck those oars in the water, turned around, thought hard work was going to get me to some new level I've never been to. And I was rolling upstream, girl, and it didn't work. And so writing out, thinking through. So I spent a lot of time sitting quietly in meditation, using deliberately focusing my attention on the kind of things that are working. I still have a house, I still have a car, I still have food in the fridge. Like, I really just the most basic things. Yeah. I am showering with appreciation. And interestingly, I felt really isolated, alone, and ashamed, quite frankly, of finding myself in this bottom place in my business and in my career. And rather than isolating, which again is what I did when I was feeling that way, the dark time I had with my body, I had been isolating myself. And in my mind, I was like, oh, it's because I need to focus on getting this thing. I need to make this work. I need to send more emails. I need to do this. I need to do more Facebook Lives. I need to do this to make this thing work. And I was isolating from the things that I love to do, like coffee with my girlfriends, or, cooking dinner for my man, or all of those sort of playtime things that I had sacrificed in order to get shit done in work. But again, that was the rowing upstream, the sacrificing of the playful, fun things that light me up and give me joy, that are not work related at all. I've been sacrificing those. So just in this last week, that's another thing that I've done. I've taken myself out of isolation. And when I have these coffees with friends, I'm not talking about what's not working. I'm not focusing on any of that. I am talking about how wonderful, like you and I spoke about, like how wonderful this growth phase is for me, and the recognition that I have in such a short amount of time, and how how I'm not doing those really harmful coping behaviors I've done in the
Mm.
past.
Yeah.
This experience of, the whatever life goes like this, and so
Yeah.
that the shining the light on and celebrating the smallest things that I do have and can be thankful for, as well as actively engaging in conversations with people, still talking about my reality, because your friends are like, so how you doing, and I'm like,
Mm.
interesting. But I'm doing it from a place of faith and trust and knowing and focusing on what greatness is going to come on the other side of this. And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know it is. So
Yeah.
writing, talking, these are my two favorite things in the whole world. Using
Mm.
my imagination to
Mm.
visualize and to see and to be deliberate with what I'm
Mm.
visualizing and seeing.
Mm.
That's what I'm doing to support
Do
myself.
you do the emotional scale? I
Oh yeah,
guess you do that. Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. Yeah. And I think you like listening to Kevin Young's conversation that I just had. We were talking about fun also. I think this is, yeah, I really love the intertwining of both of your stories. I think there's something there for people listening in, and and for me, for you, and for everyone that is part of this for sure. Colette, we have some comments. Let me
Okay.
get them so we can take a look at them right there. So there's Karen that says, love it, calibrate to well being, and everything's taken care of. Yeah. Yeah. Well being.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have and Kit, let me see. Sorry. Sometimes I need to put my glasses. Yeah, there. Hey, love your channel and all the guests. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so those are the comments we had. Thank you so much. I can hear it fine. Okay, that was you. Yeah.
Okay.
Colette, that was so much fun. I really appreciated having that conversation with you. I know I feel like we should talk again in a few weeks so you can let us know what's happening in your life. I know the evidence are gonna change and something else is gonna manifest for you for sure.
Well, I
Yeah,
have no doubt. I mean, I'm excited about that. You know?
exactly. Good. Good.
Yeah.
That's so much fun. Yeah. All right. Wishing you all the best and thank you for accepting that invite and being there. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
So thanks to all of you listening in. I really appreciate. And next week, I'll be having another fun conversation on Monday. So till then, have fun. Bye bye.